New update, now concluded. My dad is pretending my wedding is not happening.
I am not Oop. This is a new update to an existing Baru post. If you already know the Baru post, you will find the new update way down marked as /new update. You can find the original Baru post here. It was posted by u/choice evidence 1983. If you want to look up the original content, here is the first post, the first update, and the newest update. #original Baru post.
I am not the Oop. Oop is you, Mousy Shalon. Thank you to you, Direct Caterpillar 77 for suggesting this to the BoRU. My dad is pretending I'm not getting married. Originally posted to our wedding drama. Trigger warnings. Infidelity. Controlling behavior. Emotional abuse. Child neglect. And behavioral manipulation. Less than. And NBSP. Original post, March 8, 2023.
So my dad has always been a very show-off person. Announcements about grades, telling everyone how great his daughters are doing, telling off my sister for having a job he can't show off. When he divorced from my mom he was a good parent for a while and then he met Eva. Eva is way younger, has had a lot of work done and used to send him flirty messages when he was still married. They got married very early on in the relationship because they've known each other ages. She told him not to text us too much because we are adults. She checks his phone all the time. She forbade him from seeing us Christmas Day or St. Stephen's Day because he needed to be with his new family and it would have been disrespectful to her for him to see his ex-wife, and she's overall been an absolute nightmare.
And he follows everything she tells him to do. Now I'm getting married and told my dad he's invited but she's not. I've met the woman once and I don't like her, plus I know my father isn't a great person and he'd be making jabs at my mom about being older than Eva etc. To make it fair, my mom's boyfriend is also not invited although he's a sweetheart. My dad's answer to my invite has been to pretend nothing is happening. I sent him a save the date and he sent me a thumbs up emoji. He hasn't asked me one question about the wedding, not even the venue. Even though he told me shortly before meeting Eva that he was looking forward to me and my sister getting married and how excited he was. Myself and my fiancé are different religions and cultures, so everyone's had lots of questions about how we are handling that. Turns out he hasn't told Eva I'm getting married and he hasn't told anyone else, so he is just planning to say he has a work trip and come to the wedding. I don't actually think he's going to show up. I think he will say he is going to and then not show at the last minute, but my sister thinks he'll show up with her and make a whole scene because he told her Eva has just as much right to be there as your mom. Anyone else dealt with something similar? Do I need a backup to walk me down the aisle?
Relevant comments. Sailor Spyro. I just want to point out that your dad is in an abusive relationship. His new wife is cutting him off from his family, his support system, so she can have more control over him. He probably won't be allowed to go to the wedding because she's not invited. And probably wouldn't have been allowed to even if she was. Your dad is an ass all on his own, but I think it's important to recognize that he's still capable of being abused and that it's happening. Oop. Yes, they both suck. He has always been a cheater. At least 3 other women during the span of 10 years that we have evidence of. And I think, no evidence. He was cheating on my mom with her, so that's why she's constantly monitoring his phone and not allowing him to leave the house. We told him not to marry her and that her behavior is very concerning, but he seems very blind. Grumpy Smiler. It sounds like he wants to come and he knows the only way him coming without his wife is possible is if he lies about it. He's risking getting caught to be able to go, which speaks volumes about their relationship, but if she checks his phone you're causing further risk of her finding out if you keep messaging him about the wedding. Stick to phone calls so there's no record. I hope he can make it and there's no drama. Oop. I rang him the first time to tell him I was getting married and then sent him the save the date the second time asking if he was coming. I didn't know that he hadn't told her at the time. I've no idea why the wife wouldn't let him go to his daughter's wedding, though she's as amazing as he says. And NBSP. on why his mom's boyfriend isn't invited. Far more drama if I include him and exclude Eva. It's not worth the headache. He will for sure not show up if I invite my mom's boyfriend and not his wife. My mom understands that even though my dad is not the best dad ever, I still want him there. They aren't together that long, so she's okay with her boyfriend staying at home. Plus then he can stay with the dogs and she doesn't have to worry about getting a dog sitter. Most of the family is going as well, so there's nobody to look after them. And NBSP. Update October 9th, 2023. So it turns out my dad ended up telling Eva about my wedding and telling her that she was invited to the wedding to avoid problems. She got herself a dress, booked a hotel, etc. My dad tried to convince me to invite her, but his biggest selling point was that he thought it'd be an amazing time to introduce Eva to my mom and my mom's whole family. Why would he think my mom want to meet this woman is beyond me, and that she would feel excluded otherwise. He always rubs in our faces his new family, even calling it his new family. Keeps canceling every dinner he sets up with my sister due to some emergency involving Eva, or tells us to call Eva mom. Both me and my sister are way beyond the point of calling some randomer mom since we both moved out, and he's being ridiculous. He called me again and again trying to convince me, and I said no, explaining that I knew the only reason he wanted to bring his wife to the wedding was to upset mom, and that I wasn't going to let the two of them do that. He makes jabs at my mom every time he's around her about how great his new wife is. I thought the whole thing was over until I sent him some information about the wedding, and I guess he started feeling guilty and told us that he booked the flight for Eva as well. And he booked himself on the same flight as my mom. Changed his whole flight plans just so he could be on the flight with her, so that my mom and Eva could still meet. AKA he could still rub his new wife in her face and try and screw with my mom's head by putting her down and making comparisons. And then Eva would just go off and shop while he was at the ceremony. I'm not sure if this is true or if he was gonna try and bring her to the wedding and hope she didn't get kicked out. I'm trying to convince my mom to change her flight so he can't get inside her head 12 hours before the wedding. I don't know if I should uninvite him. Relevant comments. Zoe Fiona. OMG yes. What has your mom done to you that you'd facilitate hurting her? Why does he know so many details of your mom's travel plans? Oop. She is the main reason I haven't uninvited him yet. She keeps saying I need to have a relationship with him and being more understanding. He knows Bexus, he asked, and we figured he was trying to avoid being on the same flight as her. Edit. Wrong word. New update. Posted Dec. 17th. Wedding has happened. It just took a bit of time to update because it's my life and it all went south and was too raw to try write in a coherent way. It still probably won't be super coherent. Spoiler alert. My dad got uninvited. Summary TLDR from previous posts. My dad was acting weird around the wedding. Turns out he told his new wife she was invited when she was not. When it got close to the wedding and I told him to tell her he got his wife a flight with him so she wouldn't feel left out, and then purposefully chose to be on the same flight as my mom so that my mom and his new wife could meet. He has a vindictive streak, so we knew he was trying to upset my mom. Okay, so update. I asked him to change his flight because he had specifically asked me what flight my mom was on so he could avoid her. He had said, and my mom was flying with my grandpa, so it would have been quite hard to change their flights to avoid him. My dad told me he'd changed flights and that he'd invent some lie to tell Eva. He also said I was a horrible person for not believing him when he told me that he had not booked the flight out of spite. But he told my mom he booked the flight on purpose so that she could meet his new wife, and what reason would there be for wanting them to meet other than to be an AH? I thought the whole thing was resolved and my mom was really adamant that she wanted my dad to be there because I don't have a great relationship with him, and she knew it would have meant the end of the relationship if I uninvited him. Fast forward to 2 days after the conversation. My dad rebooked his flight and sent me a message to say he had changed flights. Then that evening he calls me. I answered the phone and I could hear someone screaming down the phone. Turns out Eva got her hands on my dad's phone. Read the messages where I asked him to reschedule the flight and she rang me shouting down the phone that I am unhinged. I am a horrible person. I am effed in the head. She said that I am so weird because I'm in my 30s and I still talk to my parents. This one was really weird because am I meant to stop at a certain age? And that I'm jealous of the fact that my dad has a new life. I was very calm and said that I'm sorry she's upset, that the issues around the wedding aren't really related to her directly, and that my dad was trying to upset my mom. I also said my mom's partner is not coming either, so it wouldn't be fair to have her there. She started shouting that my mom was a fat old cow and I lost it. I absolutely lost it. In this whole thing my mom has said nothing bad about Eva. I told her I never had any issue with her until now, but that she's a crazy bitch who is super controlling and that I was so glad I never invited her. Then I hung up because by that stage it had been 2 minutes of her shouting at me and I didn't feel like there was any point in talking any longer. The whole time this was going on my dad was in the background saying feebly, "Oh no. Don't be mad," at HER. While she was shouting down the phone at ME. Anyway, next day my dad calls me and says that Eva was upset because he didn't tell her about changing the flights and that I was awful for responding to her like that. He also said, "Do you really think this is my fault?" And I said yes, and he said, "Do you really refuse to take any responsibility? None of this would have happened if you had invited her like I asked you to." And I said, "Does he actually think he has any say in my wedding when he didn't even ask me what type of ceremony I had? Never asked to see my dress or get involved in any way, monetary or otherwise. He asked me if he was still invited and I said obviously not. He then told me to be careful what I wrote in my messages to him because she was monitoring his phone, and I said I'm not speaking to him again, so that won't be a problem." The wedding was good. My mom walked me down the aisle and there was nobody there to cause drama, so in the end it all worked out for the best. The whole thing was just a lot more dramatic than I originally thought it would be. We thought he might end up not coming because he was too entangled in his lies, but for sure did not expect the call I got. And it was very close to the wedding when all the drama happened. Reminder: this is a repost, sub IAM not oop. Hashtag please remember the no brigading rule. Do not comment on the original post or DM oop.
So after a lifetime of cheating, the dad gets stuck with a paranoid woman who monitors him 24/7? Sounds like karma.
Dad was a horrible partner to Oop's mother, and now he's stuck with a horrible partner and his children want nothing to do with him. He made that bed and he should enjoy lying in it.
Has to tell his daughter to be careful what she texts because he's being monitored. Doesn't think that's a problem? I see the comments pointing out her dad is in an abusive relationship. And that may be true, but it's not Op's job to save him, and at a certain point you have to walk away. For your own sake. Good God. Dad and Eva are truly horrible. Horrible people. I feel for Oop, but I'm glad she had a beautiful wedding and got to tell Eva what she really thought of her. I wish her and her new husband a long and happy life.
Dad and new wife deserve each other. Congrats to Oop on her drama-free wedding day.
Her dad sounds like a coward who threw away a loyal and loving wife and 2 daughters for an unhinged psycho. It really freaking irks me when a parent insists their children need both parents in their lives. Even when one is obviously a self-centered controlling abusive asshole. Like, no, they do not need that in their lives, and people need to stop being so obsessed about their children having both parents even when it's a bad thing. So if I was OP, I would have invited mom's boyfriend, taken a picture with mom and boyfriend at the wedding, sent it to dad's phone, then blocked his number. Okay, but did Oop invite the mom's boyfriend in the end? Hope so. Good riddance to dad. Yikes. He may be trapped in a terrible marriage, but he made his bed a long time prior and got into it again and again. Hey, Eva. I know you monitor dad's texts like the paranoid former mistress you are. Just wanted to say your plastic surgery makes you look like a greyhound eating a bag of jello. Anyone else thinking that his need to constantly rub my hot new young wife in his serene ex-wife's face is a huge delusion on his part as well? Overcompensating for something much, probably the fact that his life is actually bloody miserable? I'm glad Oop had a drama-free wedding without her sperm donor and his psycho wife there to ruin it. Her sperm donor has some screws loose that he chose pettiness over his own daughter than seeing reasons. I'm also surprised that he doesn't see that Eva monitoring him 24/7 is a problem, since she sounds completely controlling him and soon would isolate him from everyone. He's in an abusive relationship, but he is the only one that has to be the one to save himself or not. But I do hope Oop contacted his side of the family to alert them if Eva withheld health insurance or something, just to try to get him out of there if it gets that far. I would love for Oop to send just one more text to her dad. Just the information about the nearest domestic violence shelter for men. Nothing more. Dad can stay with his new family. I'd totally start texting him ambiguous messages that make it look like he's cheating or that create moments of drama for him. But I'm petty. Eva may not want the daughters to contact the father now, but I bet she's going to be singing a different tune if daddy gets infirm or develops dementia when he's older. You ungrateful cows. You ignored your father for years and now you don't want to come and provide him with 24-hour care. While I go try and hook a new man? Quote. Honestly, this could be triangulation. Dad tells new wife story about how unreasonable his daughter is. Dad tells daughter how unreasonable his wife is. Saying, sorry, she doesn't want me to do that, places him as the victim and is a good cover if he wants to cheat on his wife or bail on his daughter. Normally, I'd say I was just being paranoid. But this guy rearranged his flight plans so he could flaunt his new wife to his ex. Why are dads like this? Choosing their partner over their daughter? If my mom insisted I have a relationship with him, I'd deliberately put her on a flight with them.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.